Hello, this is Dread, and in today's video topic, this is going to be episode 2 of Road to 1.0. So, this is a series where I take a fresh account, or as close to a fresh account as I can possibly get without actually buying a new account, while also playing a new fresh character from level 1 all the way to the first empowered shade. Now, this time around, it's going to be Surge/Flame Reave Spellblade. So the whole concept of this build is to utilize Surge, which is a really strong Spellblade spell as of the moment, and it does a very large chunk of damage. For reference, I am doing 3.4 million crits on the dummy already, and I'm level 78 with trash gear found on the ground and already in empowered monos, which is great. And like I made this character a few hours ago. We can also abuse Surge, right? But we also get to utilize Flame Reave, which, of course, if you know, has really good clear in the footage you'll see later. So Flame Reave can just hit the whole screen while also dealing decent enough damage to kill stuff in the monoliths. And then whenever you want to bully a boss into submission, you can just swap to Surge with 2 easy steps by swapping your Flame Reave button and your teleport button out for static and Surge, and all of a sudden you go from a Flame Reave build, which is a highly functioning Flame Reave build, by the way, not even like making any sacrifices to do this, while also being able to just swap into a Surge Spellblade and bully bosses and just delete them, which is great. And this is by far one of the cheapest builds I have ever played, considering that everything is just bound off the ground. The only thing that is remotely anywhere near positively expensive is of course the Orobyss ring that we use for the free Melee Leech and Doom, but that is one of the most common uniques in the entire game, and you will have hundreds and hundreds of them after your first few play sessions. So yeah, this build is definitely dirt cheap. The dirtiest, cheapest I've ever played. Like, I'll be honest, I was absolutely disgusted as I was playing this, because that's just how dirt cheap it was. Like, I'm very surprised that I'm able to pump out this much damage while also, you know, actually having a decent amount of survivability. Like, sometimes on a boss, I hover around 2k to 2.5k ward already, and I have literally no gear, and I only have like 150% ward retention. Yeah, that's pretty cracked. But to be honest, like, between you and me, I actually did expect this kind of outcome for this build, mainly because Surge got giga buffed recently. So I played a Surge Spellblade about a year and a half ago, or however long. It's been a long time. I make way too many builds. But like, it was a Surge Spellblade, right? That was using a one-handed weapon and a shield, and it was defensive focused with using Vessel of Strife. So a lot of my pieces weren't focused for damage, right? And I was doing like 6 million crits with that on the dummy. And we're doing almost 4 million crits with no investment whatsoever. Why is that? Well, that's because they changed how adaptive damage worked. Back in the day, when you had a weapon like this, that flat damage on the implicit used to be melee physical, which would not scale with your elemental damage scaling whatsoever. A lot of things in Spellblade say more lightning damage, more elemental melee damage, stuff like that, right? And this physical never getting converted means that, of course, it wasn't really contributing to the damage that much. And now it's actually contributing to the damage, because now it shares a type with, of course, the tag of the skill that you're using. So if we're using a lightning skill, that 40 flat adaptive turns to lightning flat adaptive. And woo boy, when that's the case, oh, Surge, my boy. Oh, I think Surge deserves a few nerfs here or there in the future, because I think Surge was buffed a while back. It was buffed from, I think it was like 100% damage effectiveness or something like that to 200% damage effectiveness, which is absolutely ridiculous in context now. But back in the day, it made sense because, like I said, you didn't get all that adaptive damage, so you kind of needed some kind of like benefit for using Surge. And now you don't really need that anymore. You do so much damage, it doesn't even matter. I do so much damage with this build that I'm pretty sure that I could dump the dual wield, go for a shield again, go for as ZDPS as possible and still hit like 1 to 2 million crits while also having as much chunk gear as humanly possible. So, do I recommend this as a season starter? Well, if it doesn't get touched in the patch notes and Spellblade looks to be promising in the new patch, sure. Uh, I believe that it is rumored that we're going to be getting new bosses in the 1.0 patch, at least from what I've seen and heard in the Ask the Devs chat, which means that we might need a bosser. So this might definitely end up becoming my bosser. Now, with all that being said, this has been the intro. Let's go in Planner and talk about how I leveled this build from scratch. All right, here we are in Planner with a fresh blank slate. Now, I was going to turn on my ad blocker and deny Dammit his juicy income, but I saw this ad here, The Land of Exceeding Expectations. And you know what? That's kind of fitting considering the build we're talking about, i.e., Surge Spellblade, exceeding my expectations tenfold. So, let's go on and how I leveled this character. Well, first things off, we did the normal decent leveling that every sorcerer, I mean, every mage ever does. So we take, of course, 5 points in Elementalist, 10 points in Preparation, 5 points in Mage Flurry, and then as we get to town, we get access to, of course, where is it? Glacier. We take the first 3 points into Frost Script, then 1 point to Fading Echoes, and then we do the little side quest on the side here, and we grab ourselves a Gambler's Fallacy so that the third hit always crits when we set it up properly, and that third hit also gets a gigantic 200% increased damage multiplier here. Now, this has been the meta for leveling mages for a very, very, very long time. Now, I'm going to fill out the rest of this here. I'm just going to take Mana Strike, of course, and get some mana, some attack speed, and of course, increased mana gain on use. And of course, for Glacier here, we go up here, grab these nodes, and then eventually these nodes. And then by this point, what you should be doing is you should be looking at the ground for a decent weapon. A decent weapon being a two-handed weapon. It doesn't matter what kind of two-handed weapon it is, although a staff is preferred. A staff with minus mana cost is preferred, right? Like a staff with minus mana cost like this one. Look for one with Chill, and then Ignite. The reason why you want something like this is because what we're going to do is we're going to do a drastic change. We're going to take off the Gambler's Fallacy. We're going to respec our entire tree. We're going to unspecialize our skills, right? Once this happens, other than Mana Strike stays because we grab Mana Cleave, right? But we're actually going to level with Frostclaw because we're going to take 1 point in Gifted Winter, 1 point Artor's Scepter, 1 point is no mind, wrong one, I'm sorry. 2 points in Gift of Winter, 1 point in Fin of the Frozen, 1 point in Lava Talon, 1 point in Bright Frost, 1 point in Hand, and then 1 point in Volley Glass. So we have 5 projectiles that all hit the same target and apply ignites for us. Now this Chill chance that we have gets turned into Ignite chance, as well as, of course, us getting Ignite chance on the tree. Now your goal is to reach at least 100% chance to Ignite. There are a few ways of doing this. You can grab points like this, this, and then grab a few more and grab this Ignite chance. And then eventually in Rune Master, you can take 3 points here, 1 point here. Yeah, actually, no, you take a few more points in the cast speed, right? You can grab 5 points here, and then you can grab Ignite here. And that should carry you all the way to Monoliths, because Ignite Frostclaw does a lot of damage. What you're going to do is you're going to puke out your entire mana bar, and then you're going to use Mana Cleave with a Mana Strike, and then do it all over again. And then eventually, when you get a few more points into Frostclaw, you're going to take 1 point to Rending Cascade, 1 point into the -3 mana cost here with Frozen Rain, the minus mana cost here, and then you're just going to grab all the damage that you can, right? Grab all the damage, and then make sure you're getting cast speed on your gear, and then all of that is going to literally carry you until you get to Monoliths. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing this build, essentially, right? You're going to be playing this build. You're going to be grabbing all that cast speed, grabbing some HP, right? Grabbing some cast speed here, right? And you're going to be leveling with this until you get access to Surge, okay? Because once you get access to Surge, you can completely change your build. So we're going to unspec everything here. Once you have enough points to allocate Surge and a few other points, as I'll note in a second here, unspec everything again. Inspect all the points here, 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 here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a complete reset, right? We're going to put points into our HP here, 2 points in Elementalist, 5 points here, and then 5 points here, right? For Knowledge of Destruction. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We're actually taking 6 points here, 3 points here, and then we're taking, 1 point here, then 3 points here, because you want this stuff, because Reactive Ward is really strong right now for giving you a lot of extra EHP, considering we're going to be somewhat of a hybrid build in the end, right? So we want to grab all these nodes, right? And then we want to have enough nodes to go into Spellblade here, and then literally grab everything we want. So we take Arcane Warden, we take points here, take Arcane Shielding, and then take a few more points in the Fused Weapon, right? Then 1 point to Shattered Aegis, 5 points into Essence Duel, 1 point to Gemini, so you can do a few points into this, Mana Reaver, 3 points into Prismatic Blade, and then eventually you're going to fill out Volka's Razor here, right? All the way until you hit Surge. And then once you hit Surge, what you're going to do, like once you're able to hit this point, you have like, how many points? 48 extra points outside of your base mastery. You're going to look for a weapon. You're going to look for 2 weapons. Now your main hand weapon can be whatever, as long as it just has a decent amount of flat base on it, right? Because remember, this gets converted into lightning, and then like maybe attack speed and like melee flat, like melee flat light, like where is it? Lightning, melee lightning damage, right? And then for your offhand, you're going to make sure you get a sword, right? Doesn't matter what sword it is, as long as it has decent flat, like a long sword, right? And then same thing, melee lightning here as well. And then melee attack speed. Right? Bam. And then we're going to go and we're going to unspec out of Frostclaw, unspec out of Mana Strike, and then we're going to spec Surge. We're going to spec Flame Brand. We're going to spec Enchant Weapon. And then eventually we're going to spec Flame Reave later on. And then for the last point, we'll spec into Flame Ward. Now, for Surge here, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on grabbing the first 3 points in this conduit. Now, Surge deals more lightning damage per 4 static charges that you have. Eventually, you're going to put on your bar static and not touch it. It's going to give you static charges to give you more damage with Surge, right? Then you're going to put an extra point in Shocking Blows, then 3 points in Lightning Rush. Make sure you're improving your movement speed to get a bunch of more damage from this. Then you're going to take 1 point into Jolt, and then 5 points into Storm Battery. And that will carry you in terms of damage throughout the entirety of your early monoliths. And then, of course, on the side here, we're going to go with Flame Brand here. Take 2 points of Pyro Shielding, 2 points eventually in Wildfire, 1 point in Incineration, 3 points in Illuming Fire. Essentially what this does is it makes it so that whenever we consume our stacks, we get a bunch of more damage for our Surge, right? And eventually later on Flame Reave. But it also makes it so that we get a bajillion base crit, like 36% base crit. So we're at 41% base chance to crit once we're at 6 stacks of Firebrand, which is what you want, obviously, right? And you can just get a little bit of crit chance here or there, doesn't really matter, and that's enough to deal damage. And then Enchant Weaponry will be in, of course, the description down below. And then for Flame Reave here, what you're going to do is you're going to rush for World Fire, then you're going to rush through here, and then grab Versatility. And at this point, what you can do is you can ping pong between using either Flame Reave and Teleport, or Surge and Static on your bar, which I'll show you later in game. And this will get you all the way to Empowered Monoliths to the point where I'm at, and then you're just going to follow the skill tree that I put down below in the description. I know it's really annoying leveling, but it's well worth it for what you end up with later on with Spellblade. So, all that being said, let's go in game and talk about the build more in detail. All right, so here we are in game with the character alongside Mr. Red War Machine as well. Mr. Shaman, I'm sorry, you're going to be involuntarily in my video. So the character, it ended up it being at level 78, going from level 1 all the way to 78 to Empowered Monoliths and killing my first Empowered Shade. which is about when I would say the early game of Last Epoch ends and the mid game begins. That's like where I'm going to end this character as it stands. But that's fine because this character is ridiculous and the build is ridiculous, and you could very easily take this and push it much farther than I have. As like I said before in my other video, the idea is to give you guys a template to build around, and then once you get to said finish of template, you guys can go around and mess around with the class and have your own fun, as it's just kind of like training wheels, right? So just to show you as well, I did go through the arduous journey of deleting everything, every single item in all of my stashes. It took a very long time. I have a very large amount of stashes, as you can tell. They were all filled, and then I have to go through the arduous process of deleting all of my gold over and over again just to be able to have a fresh start on a fresh account. Even though EHG won't let me reset my account for some reason, and I can't even delete all of my runes of shattering and stuff like that because it takes way too long to do so, and that's a lot of runes to go through, right? So this is as fresh as we're getting. But yeah, Spellblade here. So the first thing we need to talk about is the skill swap. So for clear, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be poking enemies with Flame Brand, right? And then utilizing Flame Reave, right, to kill enemies around you, and you deal a bunch of damage in an AoE around you, right? With the current setup, you use teleport to zoom through monos, and you're good to go. You use, of course, enchant weapon off cooldown to give you a bunch of more damage, and you also get a bunch of free ward from Flame Ward whenever you need it. Now, of course, when you go to a single target, I mean like a monolith boss or Orobyss or Jurla or whatever you end up doing that is a significant single target, you want to swap your Flame Reave or your static. Do not touch static. Let static charge up. Run around a little bit, let static charge up, and you're good to go, right? And then you're going to swap your teleport for your surge, because this is going to become your movement skill. And then you're going to play the build exactly how you played it before, but instead of using Flame or Reave, you're going to use Surge, and Surge just is a line and does a bunch of damage, while Flame Reave is a circle that does a bunch of damage in the area. But Flame Surge has like insane amounts of damage in comparison to Flame Reave, but Flame Reave is better clear. But being able to specialize your build around the fact of being able to utilize both of them is really good. And let's talk about the skills, shall we? So we have Surge here. We take 5 points into Shocking Blows. Just so you know, I do have a +2 relic. I did drop one, thank God. So it's plus 50 flat melee lightning damage. It's a lot less impactful as it was before because melee flat is actually good on our weapons now, but it's still a large amount of damage. 3 points into conduit. We are not specializing into static, which we're missing 100 charges. So that means that we have about 75% less. So here it's 75% more, and then if we actually specialize static instead of using Flame Reave, this will be another 75% more on top of this, which would be about like 30% more damage, but I opted in for having Flame Reave for clear. Then we have 3 points into Lightning Rush, which gives us more % damage per 1% movement speed. So if we have 100% movement speed, we deal 300% more damage. This is one of the scaling vectors for the build in the future, is the scaled movement speed. Then we take 2 points into Concentrated Current for 40% more damage. On a normal Surge build, where you're using Surge for your AoE clear and your single target, you normally would not choose this because it reduces the rectangle that your Surge hits in, which gives you a lot less area. But since we are using Flame Reave for our clear and we're just using Surge to bully bosses, we're just going to use this and deal significantly more damage for free. Then we take 5 points into Storm Battery. This is the main reason why we're speccing it to so much attack speed, so that we can attack with Firebrand enough times to build up dormant energy and deal that juicy, I think, 100% more damage. And also as well, thanks to the fact that we don't have to invest into these area nodes, because of the fact that we're playing a build that can swap between a single target and a clear skill, meaning that we don't have to run these area nodes, right? We have access to utilize insulation. Now, every single time I use my Surge, I use all of my stacks of dormant energy, and I can gain 300 ward every single time I use Surge, and that's on top of the massive, where is it? the massive 45 per stack. So it's like that's like another 300. So every single time I do a full combo with my Surge, I get about 600 flat ward for free, which is one of the main reasons why this build is working so well, is because of the fact that we're getting so much ward for free just by existing. Now for Firebrand here, we're going to take 2 points travel to Pyro Shielding, 2 points to Wildfire, 1 point into Incineration for the more damage for your other melee attacks, right? For consuming. Then 3 points in Illuminating Fire. This gets you all the way up to like 41% base crit, which is amazing. Gives you free crits, essentially. It actually buffed this node. It used to give you auto crit, but now it gives you base crit, but it also gives you crit multi, which it did not give before. So that's 36% extra crit multi. And trust me, that starts to add up when we're doing so much damage. Then we grab Galvanize, of course, to make it so that we can shock and turns all the flat that we gain from Firebrand into Lightning Flat into Fire Flat, so it scales better. Then 4 points travel into Undying, although the stack duration is nice for when we're running around. And then 1 point to Everflame, so refresh the stacks, so we never lose stacks as we're trying to gain stacks. Then put 3 points into Fulmination for the attack speed, which makes it so that our Firebrand attacks faster and allows us to charge up dormant energy quicker and stuff like that. So we definitely want the attack speed. That's pretty much it for Firebrand. For Enchant Weapon, your stereotypical enchant weapon tree, you really can't go wrong with this. The increased damage here, the active duration here, so it goes up to 9 seconds duration, so you can get some cooldown and make it 100% uptime. The attack speed here is integral to make the build feel good, as you want to attack fast to apply all your buffs very quickly. Then, of course, we're grabbing Thundering for the massive flat 25 damage there. Then Flame Ward, stereotypical Flame Ward setup, nothing too different. And then Flame Reave. So for Flame Reave, we take eventually 3 points into Heat Wave, which is also lightning more damage because of Throwing Thunder. 1 point travel into Frenzied Flame. 1 point into Rolling Thunder, which gives us half of our damage is fire, half of us are lightning. So it's not perfect 1-to-1 with Surge. There is an idea in my mind where what you do is you go Flaming Surge, and then you go and then you don't change the color, or you don't change the type of Flame Reave and do fire scaling. You also get access to Throne of Ambition. So that is definitely an option, but right now I went with lightning. So half of our damage is lightning for Flame Reave. Then 4 points into Dancing Flames, 1 point into Rhythm of Fire to get that massive AoE, 1 point into Versatility so that we can use stacks of Firebrand to get that massive AoE, and that's all of our clear right here. And of course, World Fire for the area, and then of course Scorching Tide. Now there is a unique ring that you can get that can actually cut out a large amount of passives in this tree, because it means we don't have to grab World Fire. The unique ring, I can't remember its name, but it's like a unique ring that allows you to have this effect without having this effect allocated, which means you can dump more points down here for melee damage and get Ember Infusion and like do some monkeying around with the skill tree. But this is what you should be landing on if you do not have said ring. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Flame Reave. Now for passives, there's nothing too crazy. One thing I'd like to point out, of course, is Reactive Ward. That's the whole point this build even functions at this point in terms of defensive layers at this high of corruption. I went through the entire Monolith grind without putting on a single shred of Void Res or physical resistance, and it's thanks to this node, as whenever we drop below 70% health, we gain about 60% of it. I mean, we gain like 10 for 6. So that's like about 40%. It's like 140% of our HP as ward gain per 6 health. No, it's 60% of our life gained as health. Yeah, I mean gained as ward. So that's 60%. So if we're at like 1200, we gain about 6 MP. Yeah, 6. We get 700 ward for free whenever this procs, and of course we get some ward retention here, and then we eventually get Silver Rune, which increases the ward that we get and reduces the ward gain cooldown from 12 seconds to 6 seconds. And this is a very large amount of ward sustain, especially early on, and it makes you not feel squishy as a mage. If you're feeling squishy as a mage early on, make sure you grab this setup and stack HP, and you'll be completely fine. You'll have a nice cast when damage taken setup, and you'll feel great, right? Then for Spellblade here, the only things that are important is, of course, Blade Weaver for the more damage per stack. This allows you to stack a bunch of more damage for your next hit, which makes up for the fact that you're only hitting once every few seconds. And of course, Mana Reaver is important as it gives us a chance to gain mana, and this will sustain our mana when we're doing monoliths, and we, of course, we're spamming skills a bunch, right? And that's pretty much it for passives that are important. Everything else is like cookie cutter, right? Now for items here, idols. I just went with res idols and ward per second. Eventually, you can go with the cooldown recovery speed for Surge if you're comfortable with your current attack speed and think you can get your stacks up high enough between a 2-second Surge. That'll be for later once you get some exalted attack speed equipment, right? Then for the helmet here, literally just percent damage. Obviously, you can do much better than this. Amulet here, percent damage. You could do much better than this. Although I did get lucky with the lightning pen, so that's nice. Dagger here, all we care about is the melee lightning damage and the shred armor. You need a small amount of shred armor so you can get that juicy more damage bonus from it. And this is giving me like 40 flat, lightning damage. I mean 80 actually if you use the melee damage coefficient there at the top. And also gives me a little bit of melee fire, which isn't completely scale with what we're doing, but it's enough that it actually helps, so it's fine right now. And then our katana, melee lightning, some attack speed, shred, about as much as you want out of a katana, because eventually you start running out of crit multi, which is the bigger problem of the two of like making a build, right? Running out of crit multi. And of course, Siphon of Anguish, what you should do is go to your first shade or go to as many shades as possible as you're leveling this build until you get a Siphon of Anguish, which gives you melee damage leeches life, which means that you can sustain your life pool while also gaining a decent ward pool. So, and of course, it also applies Doom on hit, which is 16% increased damage taken from melee attacks from enemies, which is great. And it's also a gold ring and a silver ring combined into one. So overall, Siphon of Anguish, really good drop. Definitely worth getting one real quick. And for our belt, cooldown, so our surge can be used faster, lightning damage, HP, right? Ring here, terrible ring, although we are starting to stack decks because later on we lose percent damage resources and we go for dexter like attribute stacking as they give percent damage, but they also have real world value, which is great, like with the intelligence and all that, right? You get extra intelligence, do get more ward retention, stuff like that, right? Gloves here, melee attack speed, HP, of course. Crit chance would be great here. Intelligence would be great here. Boots, same thing. Movement speed. This is like some of the worst gear I've ever had, guys, by the way. This relic's actually pretty decent. It's got some crit multi-surge, but eventually you'd want something better, like a Vessel of Strife, eventually. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the gearing. That's pretty much it for the character. Like I said, I wanted to get from level 1 all the way to Empowereds. We're good. Now we can try the next build. Bye.